Hey guys, I'm doing a little bit of a different kind of video today. It's the yearly fails video. So for the first 3.5 minutes, it'll be kind of same old, same old. I'll get out of the way and let you guys watch this. If that's all you want to see, then I appreciate the view, and then that's it. After that, however, I am going to be showing all these fails again and explaining what I think I did wrong. As well as what I would do differently if I could go back and try it again. So please enjoy the video.
Yeah, just for a little bit extra tension. Yeah, go ahead and hold that. Mother. Hold. Ah, fuck. Okay. That's not according to plan. Alright, well,
So this was from one of the few crane jobs I did last year. And pretty much the setup was that it's a 45-ton crane. We were at his max reach at the angle that he could get. I think we were about 120 feet away or so. He wasn't able to boom down anymore because the peak of the roof was maybe 8 inches under the bottom of the boom. And so pretty much I messed up here because I did one of two things that I should have. I could have done either or, and it could have been better. So I tied this bottom strap first, and then climbed further out on the limb and tied the tip. Which, because I had him tension on it, you can see that one strap is loose. That means that that's going to drop into the boom and shock load it a little bit, which isn't really that good. You're not supposed to shock load these booms. It can be really catastrophic. What I could have done differently was I could have had I still tied the butt first, I could have half hitched the sling up top near the tips, and that would have taken some of that slack out and prevented some of that shock. Additionally, what I could have done was I could have tip tied it first and then come down to the base. However, I'm not sure if that would have actually done anything different. So I think the best thing would have been to just add a half hitch up at the tips to decrease the amount of drop that it would have had. So in this next clip, this was from the 4-speed lining pines videos. This was the final pine, and pretty much what went wrong was all day I had no problems with the trunk wood peeling down or doing any of that. So I did my normal face cut. I didn't snip the sides, and because of that, the corner closest to me held on. So what I had intended was, right when it started to go over, I was just going to push it out, and it would land in the little drop zone I'd been using all day. However, little corner held on, which resulted in it swinging back and to the right. Luckily, it didn't hit the fence. All it did was destroy one of those little papers. The thing I could have done differently to avoid that was I could have just nipped the corners of my hinge, and that would have eliminated that from happening. This was from the previous tree in that job. It had a kind of awkward top. So my plan was to put a speedline sling way up high and basically cripple cut it, come down and have him pull, and it would hinge over and avoid my climb line. If anyone watched the video, that did not happen. You can see here, I was tied into this tree. I put my flip line around it twice just to be extra sure I wasn't going to move. But it certainly caught my flip line, or sorry, not my flip line, my climb line. It ended up being a little bit taller and longer and a little more twisty than I thought it was. Which, all in all, wasn't that big of a deal. It just means I lost my high tie-in for the rest of this tree, and, you know, it bruised my ego a little bit, because I had been doing pretty good for the whole day. Thing I could have done differently on this was I could have continued piecing this out. That probably would have been the better idea. Just keep taking small bits off it, one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. Additionally, you'll notice here my climb line to the other tree is slacked out. What I could have done was tie a knot on both sides of my rope runner so that the rope wasn't able to pass through it. And because I'm tied into this tree, I could have simply lowered that to the ground and just held the bottom end of the rope. And then once that piece zips out, then retrieve it and then carry on. So this is from a pine from earlier in the year where I broke a bull rope. As best guess of what happened was, so the piece was probably, I don't know, 26 to 28 inches in diameter. My bar was pretty much big. And we've rigged far larger pieces with that rope. However, we were pretty close to the ground, and it was about an 8-foot piece. So my rope guy didn't really have room to let it run. And I don't know if he let it run at all. There was a deck right underneath part of the tree, which we ended up crunching the corner of, which is unfortunate and to be avoided. But yeah, so the thing could have done differently. Obviously, could have taken a smaller piece. Instead of an 8-foot piece, 5 or 6-foot piece would have been perfectly fine. Additionally, if he didn't let it run, then if he had just let it run a little bit, just to try to give the rope a little bit more time to stop the piece, that probably would have also helped. So this was the, as often happens with mistakes, the final tree of the day. The ground crew had been kind of dragging their feet all day. Not to say that's an excuse, that's just justification for why I didn't rig this piece. And most of the pieces all day had been hinging and hanging pretty well. So I figured I could peel that one down and let it hang. I come down a little bit and then sever it and throw it into the yard. That did not happen. It's as simple as that. This is the one piece that got away from me throughout the whole day. Luckily, the tips hit first, and then kind of cushioned its impact on that fence that's down there. Something to do differently would be, I could have cut it back at the branch collar. That certainly would have given me more fibers that the tree would have held on to. Obviously, I could have rigged it down. Or I could have kept my hand on it the entire time as opposed to letting go of it. But luckily, no one got hurt, nothing was broken. So this was from Hurricane Helene. For those who don't know, I went down to Greenville, South Carolina, and then Asheville, North Carolina to help with some of the recovery work. This will probably be the longest explanation. So this house had a total of 17 trees on it, I believe, and there were no good tie-in points. I was not comfortable tying into any of the trees that were leaning on the house, as I didn't want the pieces we were taking off of them with a crane to shift and then me ride a tree down. So myself and the crane operator determined that the best course of action would be to remain tied into the crane. So what happened with this piece, and this is the only one out of the 30 or 40 picks that we did off of this house that went slightly askew, was that I had the slings not perfectly balanced. I probably could have had the top one up a little bit further, but I think the main thing was that the tip of the crane wasn't perfectly centered over where the center of mass was. It was a little bit too close to the tip, and then also a little bit too close to the crane as opposed to directly over the piece. As such, when I did the top cut of my shelf cut, as you can see, it shifted back towards me. Something that I'm sure not many people noticed on the first pass around, but I've noticed since watching it. Had I accidentally revved the saw as it got pushed against me, I stand the potential of cutting myself, which is definitely not good. So, something to avoid having that happen is, well, for starters, make sure the crane, the ball or the tip is positioned over the center mass of whatever you're trying to pick. That's certainly something I would do differently. I don't think I wouldn't be tied into it, just because given everything that was on the house and how much debris and those are the only trees near the house, and they ended up on the house. So there was nothing for me to tie into. I didn't really want to be flip line to any of them, like I said, so I think pretty much the main thing would have been making sure that the tip of the crane was over the center of the piece, and then making sure that those slings were in the optimum spots. But like I said, that was the one piece out of all the pieces we took that went south.
Okay.
So this was the top of a pine tree. So this was the second tree of the day. So I was still pretty fresh. And pretty much what happens is my face cut wasn't aimed quite where I wanted it, and then it's a little out of frame, but the top got caught up in another top, which is why it swung over. Obviously could have roped it, could have had ground crew pull it over. I didn't really want them pulling. They tend to kind of just pull, and then yard really hard. And with the base of the tree is probably only 8 feet from the house, so I didn't really want them putting an unknown force on the top. So I figured I'd just climb up to where it's super small, and I would have no problem tossing it. Just previous to this, I had tossed my rope into the top of another pine so that on my way down, I would have a little bit more comfort than just standing on my spikes the whole time.
That's not according to plan.
As such, it happened to get caught on my climb line, which it's no big deal. It didn't hurt. You can hear me go, ugh, a little bit, but that's more of just the, it's a little uncomfortable. How to avoid this? I'd say probably just making sure that my face cut is where it needs to be. Maybe I could have gone smaller. I was in pretty thin wood. Sorry, not thin, pretty small wood. So I don't know if I would have continued going up. Obviously, I could have rigged it. If I had done that, then I would have sent it straight out over the house. But that takes time to set up. And yeah, it takes time to set up. And there were a number of other things to do on this job site, so they wanted me to kind of, keep it going, keep it moving quick. This was from honestly, a pretty nasty oak. There was no central tie-in. It was rotten, it was sprawly all over all kinds of other vegetation. It was not a very fun climb. It took most of the day. I was exhausted. But it's pretty much at this point, this is the last problematic lead. Everything else either has a drop zone right over it or is free and clear to swing. I'm easily 40 feet away from my tie-in. Probably, I don't know, I have to go back and watch the video. Maybe 15 or 20 feet above my tie-in. So it's not super comfortable. So when I tied this piece on, I tossed my rope clip up. Did it half hitch, tossed the rope clip up, and then I just clipped it on, but I didn't cinch it, and that's the problem. So I think what happened was, because I didn't cut it, and you can hear in the video, I go, huh, because I don't know what happened. And when this video, as of when this fails video is released, isn't up yet, you'll hear the foreman ask if I cut the rope. So basically, I think what happened was, when it inverted, it unloaded the rope just enough so that once the rope started to try to catch it, the piece just fell completely out. Luckily, there was absolutely nothing beneath me. I didn't damage the fence. That was 3 feet to the right of where it landed. I didn't hit the house. I didn't hit the roof. I didn't hit the gutter. It's 100% a case of me being lucky that I didn't hit anything. By all means, I should have. The way to avoid this is to make sure that rope snap is tight every time you do something. Or if it's not tight, then it's got to be through a union so that it can't slip off accidentally.
protect those trees, but yeah, they just don't care here. And I've tried many, many times